aligning data strategies with business objectives, breaking down silos for success. And I want to welcome Jason Hardy, CTO for AI in Hitachi Vantara. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. I have to hold the stage myself, so I don't have any backup up here. So I hope you all are having a great time so far. Like was said, my name is Jason Hardy. I'm the CTO for AI for Hitachi Vantara. I'm also on the steering committee and chair the AI initiatives that we do across the broader Hitachi. Yeah, jumping in. Let's see, oh, the clicker works. That's always a bonus. Okay, great. The market dynamic that we're looking at today is obviously very interesting when we talk about AI, specifically generative AI, but even at the broader aspect of how sexy, as it was said earlier by the panel up here, that generative has become, but also how it's cast a spotlight on what traditional AI has really been able to accomplish for a number of years, decades really. If we look at from the, they said point the clicker at the monitor and it'll work. There we go, now it's working. If we look at what McKinsey's been able to cook up and what Deloitte and some of the other experts in the industries who give us this really good point of view, they've been able to identify that if we look at generative AI alone, it's created an opportunity for over $5 trillion in additional growth. This is not GDP. This is spend to turn these systems on. If we look at the data center value chain, it's $5.5 trillion from the power required all the way out to the compute and storage and all the technology and software necessary to kind of cook up some of these ideas that we're working on as, hey, can we transform our business? Now, the upside to that is that spending $5 trillion will net us almost $25.5 trillion of increased GDP globally. What we're doing here is not child's play. What we're doing here is really impactful to the global economy. But at the same time, it's a lot of work. And it's still in this kind of early phase, especially when we look at generative and agentic AI and how this is really starting to come to market. Now, on the flip side of that is, or to reinforce that really, is that when we've engaged with our customers and we engage with the analysts and things like that, we are seeing a reinforcing message that over 92% of the companies out there are investing continuously into generative AI. So the spend is there. So we have a $5.5 trillion requirement to turn this stuff on, and we have a desire to continue to spend and to increase the spend by over 76% over this next year. By the way, that $5.5 trillion includes about 156 gigawatts of additional power, with another 125 gigawatts annually required to keep those things running. That's about 250 million homes, just if you want to do the quick math. Now, that's all well and good. We're seeing a lot of positivity. We're seeing a lot of investment into this. If you look at NVIDIA's stock price alone, you see people are spending money on this stuff. However, I got to keep this pointed at the monitor. However, almost 50% of the C-suite, and this is not according to Hitachi, this is across multiple analysts looking at this and talking to a lot of customers. Almost 50% of the C-suite say it's moving too slow. It's not pushing the path. It's not creating the ROI. We're not seeing this ability to create an outcome from this that's of value yet. So what does this really mean? Obviously, from a market perspective, the transformative potential of what we're talking about here today, not just from big data, not just from analytics, it's all of it together working as a machine to create outcome. The transformative potential is undeniable. That's why I'm really positive and I'm really excited about this. But at the other side of it, we need to have intention in how we actually pursue this. This jump in, what we saw during COVID of buy every GPU you can possibly get your hands on because you never know when you're going to need it. Obviously, That spend is still happening, again, see NVIDIA, but without the ROI on it, that trend will continue to become more and more challenging. So what does this mean? It means we have to have intention. We have to be methodical in our approach to this. I have 3 kids at home. One of them's 12. My son is 12. He turns 12 tomorrow. In fact, my wife just texted me his iPad got hacked, or his iCloud account got hacked today. So that's a great thing to see right before you walk on stage. But the point is that my son is about to enter puberty. I am not looking forward to this. Generative AI, agentic AI, this new technology is on the same path. It is being forced to grow up very quickly. So where we were seeing teething pains, we're now seeing prepubescence. It is being forced to rapidly evolve because enterprises who have a traditional requirement of reliability and stability and all this great stuff are now bringing in this late-breaking new capability that has to grow up, that has to maintain these enterprise expectations. In fact, if we look at it from how pilots are going today and how new proof of concepts are happening, we're seeing a lot of failure. But that's, again, because it's new. I think Everest Group said about 90% of the production pilots going on today will not see the light of day. That's a big failure rate. The ROI to associate to that is very complicated. In fact, by traditional math, you would just shut them off and say this is a giant waste of money. 30%, according to Gartner, of the business leaders that they talked to said that they are going to abandon their 30% of their generative AI projects by the end of this year. That's a pretty substantial failure rate. In fact, us, as a global organization, realize the benefits of generative AI. Kojima-san, our previous chairman, we've just gone through a transition with another san, highlighted that our corporate strategy at Hitachi is that generative AI will become the core of who we are. We're one of the largest companies in the world. We have over 300,000 employees. We're responsible for, keep it pointed at the monitor, we're responsible for over 40% of the world's global power grid. We build trains. We build critical systems. So you're probably wondering, why is this company who builds TVs and trains and nuclear power plants and all this stuff, why are we on stage talking about data, generative AI, and what this actually means? And it goes back to an investment that we made 50 years ago when we realized, by the way, we're 115 years old. We realized that data is the core of everything we do. So just like you here in this room, we are not just an IT company. We're not just a box schlepper or software builder. We build things. We build things that keep the lights on. We build mission-critical platforms that power cities and governments and all sorts of things. So our perspective on this is really interesting because we look at this not at the light of how can we engage with you, our customers, but also in how we can engage with ourselves to use this technology to improve on things, to improve on how we build theme park rides. If you go to Harry Potter, we built that. Or how you take the train from one place to another and that operates on time in a safe measure. You see, our customer success for AI specifically goes back decades. If we look at Penske, Penske's a global fleet manager for trucking. Sorry, not global, they're across the Americas. They're the largest trucking fleet in the world operating out of the US. We built their entire AI platform to give them predictive analytics, to give them the ability to understand when is my mile to failure, or what we've done for the rainforest to improve on the lungs of our planet by using acoustic telemetry to understand when a chainsaw is operating in a place it shouldn't be. Or what we've done to, somebody mentioned agriculture earlier, or what we've done to build a smart banana. We've worked with farms across Australia to improve on the ability to grow a more sustainable banana. Using a lot of AI, a lot of IoT, blending this all together, and helping them grow. Or Sphere, the big light bulb in Vegas. And what we did there to power everything that they do from an AI perspective, from a video perspective, for immersion. You see, across this landscape here, not just what we've done for our customers, but even what we've done for ourselves, for example, in building a smarter train. Every carriage that we build now through a platform that we call HMAX has AI embedded in it. We understand now the 40,000 plus data points of every carriage and what it means from a safety perspective, from a resource perspective, from a failure perspective. So we have this context now. And lastly, the news hit this morning. We're working with the US government across many different organizations inside of Hitachi, led by Vantara, and the US power grid to understand, remember that 200 and some odd megawatt problem that we have to solve for? To understand how to bring power online faster. It takes almost 2 years to bring a new source of power into the power grid. We're dropping that into months. And that's in collaboration with ourselves, with NVIDIA, with our customer base, with the US government, because again, we have this perspective of what it takes to actually do this successfully. We've been doing this for decades because we understand the thing that we're trying to solve for, as well as the industry that we're solving it for in. In fact, it's not just about what we're doing on the train front or on the banana front. It's also what we're doing with AI, with data. This is where it becomes a lot more relevant. Obviously, we all understand that data is the power, the lifeblood of AI. So we've just recently created, in partnership with NVIDIA, a very creative way to innovate against that data. And I'll introduce that to you now.
Imagine the ability to sort through time, pulling information you need when you need it using AI. Hard to believe? That's because every AI system is caught in the present. Today's LLMs rely on documents and data that are routinely updated and replaced. Previous versions? Gone forever. But what happens when a user wants to search for older information? Where are the AI archives stored? To answer that question, we developed time-aware AI. Hitachi IQ Time Machine, powered by NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs, Deep Reasoning NIMs, and NeMo Retriever, all orchestrated through the revolutionary NVIDIA IQ Blueprint. For the first time, users can access data from different time periods. Here's how it works. Our agent accesses documents on Hitachi VSP1 object, protected by enterprise-grade security and privacy controls. But unlike traditional systems, we preserve every document version through VSP1 object's versioning capabilities. Old and new versions remain accessible to users in parallel. Just enter the date you want. Our agentic workflows understand how data lives and changes in real time as users interact with it, ensuring compliance with privacy regulations. This isn't just storage. This isn't just AI. This is time made tangible. Hitachi IQ Time Machine, the only AI that travels through time.
You see, we created Time Machine because we have a perspective about how enterprises work. Again, having done this for 50 years. We understand data. We understand how compliance is important. We understand that, listen, it's the Wild West out there. So how can we best control this? How can we best utilize this information, but also do it in a secure and compliant fashion? It's that perspective we had by working with the largest banks in the world, by working with governments, by working with all these different entities, where we've built these muscles that allow for us to be pragmatic and methodical, yet also cutting edge. So the whole point of me being up here today, yes, I want to introduce Time Machine, yes, to talk about some of the great things that Hitachi has done. But the whole point is I want to kind of give you some lessons learned that we've taken away along the years that we've been doing this. In fact, I'm really happy. I was sitting through a lot of these sessions today or this morning and talking with others that nothing here is earth-shattering. It's tried and true. Nothing is going to be like, oh my gosh, this blows my mind. But it is meant to reinforce some of maybe what we're thinking, what we're toying with, but more importantly, is to just say, listen, you're not doing this alone, and the things that you're experiencing, it's universal. There we go. Number one, be outcome first, AI second. In the race to AI, we've found that a lot of customers have gone along the way saying, I want AI, but they forget why they want it. Or they want AI to check a box. So they don't actually know what they're solving for. And I'm really framing this under the generative AI context here. So really when we talk about this and when we ideate with our customers, we want to really ensure that we are outcome-oriented, that we define what success looks like, wrap KPIs around it. And in a lot of cases, those KPIs are yet to be defined, so you have to go and do the work on that. It's not easy. But by having these goals in mind, while yes, they are science experiments, it keeps the science experiments with no goal, with no end result, off the table. And then you can keep these outcomes front and center as you ideate, as you create these outcomes that you want to target. And through that, you create a more scalable impact to move from. Number two, think big, start small, but move fast. There is a first mover advantage in this technology. We are seeing customers today who are seeing a well-defined improvement from implementing this technology that has given them a competitive advantage than who they compete with in the market. So in that, while still embracing a practical approach, you still do want to think big. But at the same time, too, to kind of contrast that a little bit, stay grounded. I call it going after the peripheral of your business and not the core of your business. Go after things that are easy wins, that you can build that muscle against, that you can be pragmatic against, things that let you learn fast, but also demonstrate a value that you can build momentum off of. As you start to step through this, as you start to adopt these traits, that muscle becomes stronger and stronger, and you can get closer and closer to the core of your business, transforming who you are. So it's that balance. Where do I see that value from versus how quickly can I get something out the door? Second, it's a team sport. I really loved what they had to say today because at the session before me, because it is such a key point that gets missed on two fronts. One, AI is a team sport, so build a team around it. IDC just released their AI awareness report, something like that, about a month ago. And the number one person who's responsible for AI transformation in the business is the CIO, who I heard something the other day is traditionally called the CINO. So it's interesting now to see that they're being charged with this. But the point is, the CIO does not have the full perspective. It's impossible. It requires legal, it requires HR, it requires lines of business. It requires a collaboration across the entirety of an organization to build a successful outcome. You need that perspective. Diversity brings that perspective and encourages the collaboration. Think of this as your AI pit crew. I'm a big Formula One fan. The pit crew is the heart and soul of a successful racing team. That pit crew, to build your AI, is how you will win. Do not forget about your pit crew. Like I said earlier, and to go into the racing analogy, data is your fuel. This is where it gets complicated because a lot of people that we engage with are really afraid of doing anything, stepping forward in AI because their data is a disaster. There's just no denying. That's just the way it is. That's how businesses operate. Move fast, and it kind of happens as it happens. What we really encourage is twofold. One, isolate the data necessary to solve the problem. The entirety of your estate will not be fixed by this. Focus on what's necessary to create a successful outcome. But on the flip side of it, build your AI tools so that they can accommodate your noisy, shitty data. You see, if you make something a little bit more flexible, a little bit more less 100%, you'll be able to move faster, iterate through it further, at the sake of accuracy at times, but that's why you don't go into production step one. So beware of the garbage in, garbage out, but also try to accommodate a little bit of that garbage. Listen, I also sell infrastructure, so I would be amiss if I did not talk about infrastructure. But there is no denying, again, see NVIDIA, that infrastructure is a key part of this. Obviously, some organizations will use the cloud. Most organizations are hybrid. We're seeing about a 70% repatriation of AI workloads today because it's expensive to operate in the cloud. But there are also platforms like OpenAI and things like that that were mentioned that have value. But the point is, there is still a foundational requirement from a tech stack that needs to be focused on. So build that AI-friendly tech stack. Make that investment to build that starting environment that you can work against. It's a fixed cost, so you don't have to worry about how many hours something runs for. But inside of that, as you build that foundation, it's not just the GPUs, but it's also the storage. It's the computation. It's the the MLOps pipelines. It's all aspects of the tech stack. You build that tech stack for success. You invest in that up front, and then you ideate or you iterate through that over time. It will help you avoid those costly mistakes of having to retool after you go to production. I cannot tell you how many customers I've engaged with who started out in the cloud, said, wow, we're having to shut down these platforms because it's an uncontrolled cost, because our end users are operating against it. So now we're stuck. Now we just shut the value off. So we help them bring it on-prem or create more of a hybrid approach. So it's creating that tech stack of however it exists across whatever platforms, but design it so that it can scale and that you go into it, again, eyes wide open. Listen, everyone here wants to have that success, have it be perfect, never get that call, never get that complaint, but that's impossible. Move fast. The faster you operate, the more you can iterate over this, the more success you will get out of this. A lot of CIOs, a lot of teams who lead these, we want 100% accuracy. Well, that's impossible. But maybe 100% accuracy isn't a requirement. Engage your team. So through this, realize that speed is more important than perfection. Also realize, and I was talking to a Johns Hopkins professor earlier this week, who he kind of had this kind of epiphany. He goes, I spend a semester teaching students about AI. At the end of that semester, what happens? It's all irrelevant because it's all changed. Realize as you execute quickly, it will change over time, and you will also discover an improved way to create that outcome. So don't be afraid to change it as well. Don't get married to this stuff. That's a bonus one. Realize, again, back to the conversation before me, that your users will also define the success of this. Spend as much money as you do, or as much time as you do on the engineering side of a solution, as you do on training your people on how to use this technology. There is a fear of this, of it's going to take my job, it's going to be negative, something bad's going to happen to me. If you train your people to have an awareness of this, of how to better utilize this, of how to, they talked about earlier, how to deal with hallucinations, how to deal with all of these obscure things that can happen, your customers, your users, will be more inclined to adopt it, and that will lead to more success. So build the solutions with the users. Building a solution with users will foster enthusiasm. And that will drive that momentum, that flywheel behind it that you need to be able to go on to the next one. Trust is very important with these systems. Responsibility and reliability are inextricable. We at Hitachi, we pride ourselves on being very ethically aligned. What I mean by that is we fall on our sword, no pun intended, when something goes wrong. we also do everything we can to make sure that our ethics, that who we are, above all else, is upheld. That includes this technology. We have spent more time looking at AI from an ethics perspective, how to ensure that we have the right practices, the right fairness, proper transparency, privacy, security, all of that wrapped into what we do. Remember, we're doing this for mission-critical systems as well. Things like the power grid. That can't go down. So in that, we really focus on how to build trustworthy and robust AI. Now, the more trust you build into it, the more robust it becomes, the more trust you gain. The more robust it becomes, the more trust you gain. This is one benefits the other. You also cannot ignore the ethical requirement of this, because your users will stop trusting it, or the government will come after you. And we don't want either of those. I also heard earlier about partnership, which is key. It's huge. This is a skill set. Again, remember, it changes faster than we can think on how this technology requires this perspective that keeps up with the change of pace. In that, through partnerships, you don't have to go it alone. You don't have to be that expert. But when you do partner, maintain your strategy. Define your strategy. Do not let a partner define your strategy, because then you don't own it, you don't have the ownership behind it, you don't have that passion for it, and it can get lost. Offload not the mundane, but the lesser strategic portions to the partners, to us, to whoever. In doing so, you maintain that ownership, that passion behind it, but you also augment your skills so that you can move faster, which again, see the point or 2 points before. And lastly, build your blueprint for success and use that to scale and repeat. The benefit of success is you learn a lot from it. But I would also argue, use your failures to also help build your success. Who here learns more from their successes or their failures? Failures, raise your hand. Okay, good. Those who haven't raised your hand aren't paying attention. I'm kidding. In that, that's also how you define ROI. The whole notion of ROI is changing. It's hard to say, oh, the ROI of AI is, oh, how many head count do I lose or whatever. That's not the case. So learn from this, use these blueprints, and then use this to compound that next success, and use this as that launch pad into the next thing. I am very optimistic about what this technology is going to build for us. Over the last 2 years alone, the AI advancement is stunning. It's running at a breakneck pace. But what if we actually take the advice of Reid Hoffman and imagine what could possibly go right with AI? Einstein said, learn from yesterday, live for today, but hope for tomorrow. By learning from yesterday, we can draw on hard-won lessons that we can then act pragmatically against for today, that moves us into building robust systems for tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, that 90% failure rate, the 10% that did pass into production, have more than paid up for this. That 10% means that we have a saying in the US called, the juice is worth the squeeze. I'm going to be here all day. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to meet with you, to have a conversation, whatever. But I want to thank you all very much for your time, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day today. Thank you.